Hi, my name is Sally Hurst, and I'm going to do a comparison between the Lukas Oil Colour Medium 5 Painting Butter Medium and the Gamblin Gal Kid Gel. I've used the Gal Kid Gel before in my oil and cold wax paintings, but I haven't used the Lukas before. And someone mentioned it to me, and I saw an artist use it online, and I was intrigued as to whether or not they were similar. I looked up the safety certificates, which is a really good way to find out what's in something. Okay, and they both contain alkyd, which is great. So they're both compatible with Gamblin cold wax medium, and they both contain solvents. The solvents are different. In the Gamblin, it's Gamsol. Okay, and in the Lukas, it just said a naphthol-based petroleum solvent. Okay, so I'm going to try these out and see how they are in terms of viscosity, and then I'm going to try them out with some cold wax medium and see how they behave with that. Why might you want these? That's the next question. Okay, now I use, as you know, I use alkyd. I use Gal Kid medium, which is a runny, honey kind of medium, but sometimes you might want to maintain the thick viscosity, okay, before you even start, or even if you're not using cold wax medium. So these are designed as impasto gels, whereas once you start adding anything runny to your oil paint, you're going to liquefy it and change the viscosity. Okay, so that's what they're for. They're both called impasto gels, and so let's have a little look and see how they compare. This is the Gamblin, okay, and it's a gel. I'm not quite sure. I did email them once because I've run out of it, and I only had Gal Kid, and I've just wondered because their customer support is excellent at Gamblin. Have to recommend them, and I just wondered what the difference was between this and the Gal Kid. The fluid Gal Kid, and they said there's no real difference other than the viscosity. So they don't add anything to this to make it thick. It's obviously just something to do with the process of mixing it to get a thickness. Okay, so this is the kind of texture you get. For those of you who are used to acrylic gels, I would say this is similar in texture to a soft gel. Okay. Then we have the Lukas, which is slightly opaque. And in terms of viscosity, it's thicker. It's more like an acrylic heavy gel, okay, in terms of how thick it is. They're both designed to maintain, as I said, the thickness of. Now straight away, what I'm getting here, not from the Gamblin but from the Lukas, I'm getting a strong solvent smell. Okay, so those of you who've been looking at the videos of an artist exploring using Lukas with oil paint and really like what she's doing but don't want any smells at all, then I straight away recommend you go for the Gal Kid. This has no smell. It's still a solvent, but it has no odor. And I've written about this on my comparison with cold wax mediums, and Julie Caves on the jacksons.co.uk blog has written a whole article on solvents. Even though you can't smell them, doesn't mean they're not there. Okay, so there's all that health and safety stuff, hence the gloves. And I'm strictly not an advocate of painting with bare hands. And if you look at the safety certificate, certainly for the Lukas, it makes it very, very clear that bare skin is not something that you'd want to approach with this. Dermatitis, absorbing it into your bloodstream, etc., etc. Let's get back to smell. It has a strong solvent smell. Now, I'm not particularly bothered about smells, so it wouldn't stop me using this, but if it is something that affects you, then maybe avoid the Lukas and go for the Gal Kid. Yes, it is. It has got a strong smell. Other than that, they're pretty similar, and as I said before, they both have alkyd resin. Okay, so they're both compatible in theory, both compatible with alkyd based cold wax mediums. But I'm not going to think about them quite yet in terms of cold wax medium. Let's think of them in terms of a painting medium. This is some very nice Williamsburg turquoise. And let's see how they mix. I'm going to start off with the Lukas. Not maybe use all of it. I'm going to do a 50-50 actually, for the sake of science. Straight away, it's nice, I have to say. The paint has become, how can I put it? In terms of viscosity, it's not much different throughout the tube, but it's smoother and more spreadable. This is like painting with butter. All right, so they certainly got their title right. Painting butter medium. It has the viscosity of butter. Okay, that's nice. I like that. This is the Gal Kid. It's often called G gel, just because it's quite hard to keep saying Gal Kid gel. And that's similar, actually. It is softer. As I said before, this is a softer, it's not as thick as the Lukas. So I'm not surprised that this is looser when I mix it with the paint. Okay, but both very nice. I just need to go and find a brush. Here we go. I've got a piece of paper. I'm using the Arche oil paper. And let's see. People often want, if they're working with mediums, that you want a different viscosity. That's quite stiff. It's nice though. It is like painting with butter. That's a nice texture to it, particularly like that. And I can loosen it. Now this is a mixture, 50-50 mixture of Gal Kid. Okay, again, this is what I normally use, and some Gamsol. Okay, so that's made a runny mixture. So I can either use this in pasto, and let's go quite thick with that before it begins to, so I can get some really thick brush strokes in there, or I can loosen it if I want it looser. Basically what it's doing, you might say to yourself, well, why add it then if you're going to loosen it? Why not just add that, this solution to oil paint? This is really expensive stuff. Okay, both of these mediums are much less expensive, and I'm kind of stretching. Yeah, I'm going to get more out of my tube by mixing them with a medium. That's lovely. That's really nice. Okay, you can get some really nice effects on this paper. Yeah, that's okay. I'm liking that so far, so good. And I'm going to do the same with the G gel, just to give you an idea of what it's like. And again, even though it's slightly looser, it's still in pasto. I'm still going to be, now because it's got resins in it, they're going to help that paint stay in peaks and brush strokes. You're going to get the texture of your brush. Let's do the same again. I always mix paint with a palette knife, by the way. Otherwise your brushes get so gunky. And again, by the time we've done that and added some 50-50 mix, it's identical in how it feels and how it's behaving to the Lukas. Another reason why I was intrigued between the Lukas, this is the Lukas, and the Gamblin, is the Lukas is a lot cheaper. And they make it in large tubs as well as tubes. I don't know why Gamblin don't do that. That's the largest they go is 150 ml, which is 5 ounces. It would be really nice to have that in a larger tub. So it's cheaper. The only difference so far is it's slightly thicker, the Lukas, and the smell. Other than that, they're behaving on the paper exactly the same. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry off. I'm now going to mix both of these with some cold wax medium. Okay, again, I want to see how that performs. So again, I reckon I've got a 50-50 mix in there. Straight away, it's making it matter, but it's still a lovely impasto texture. I could get to like this. Both of these, any alkyd gels, if you're adding it to cold wax medium, are a really good idea in terms of working on canvas. And certainly Gamblin recommend that you add some of their G gel to cold wax medium, to the paint mix, in order to make your paint more flexible. The resin, the alkyd resin is a flexible resin. It makes it tougher. I think by the time I've done this, they are feeling pretty much the same. Okay, so even though the G gel is slightly looser, by the time we've done the paint, there's a little bit of the mix in there, and I've got the cold wax medium. In terms of viscosity, these guys are pretty much identical. The Lukas is slightly shinier, looking under the light. So I'm just now going to lay this down here, because what I want to see is how long it takes to dry, to see if there's any discernible difference with drying time. Because those of us who are using cold wax medium, we want our paints to set up or to dry off as soon as they kind of will, certainly overnight. Yes, this is shinier. Be interested to see whether it dries shinier. I'm going to leave it nice and textural. Okay, and I'll come back to that later. Okay, this is the next day. Actually, it was probably about 36 hours because I did the other one in the morning, and now it's afternoon. And they are pretty dry. Okay, I came back a little bit earlier. They were kind of touch dry about the same time. So in terms of drying times, there's still a slight sheen, maybe, on the Lukas, but in terms of drying times and setting up, okay, they're pretty much the same. Let's get something I can just find something to scratch into it so you can kind of see how it. Yeah, they're the same in terms of thickness and dry. Yeah. Okay. So to sum up, both have alkyd. Okay, so both compatible with any alkyd based cold wax mediums. Both have solvents. The alkyd has Gamsol, which is an odorless spirit, so that doesn't smell. The Lukas does smell. In terms of performance, they're pretty much the same in terms of how to change the viscosity, what kind of textures to leave, and how they mix with the cold wax medium. What I haven't tested, and I will do that another time when I start working on them, is whether or not, because the Lukas has a stronger solvent, whether or not it wakes up underneath layers of cold wax medium. Okay, but I'll let you know.